guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel and hanging with me a little bit today. Got a really good info pack video for you all today. I'm going to show you what I call the Weedless hover rig Ned rig setup. This is something I sort of developed on my own over the past year. You guys have heard me talking about some of the core tackle products. Guys, they make some unbelievable cutting edge revolutionary stuff. And the hover rig that they made here is one of them. This thing is an incredible fish catcher here. We're going to be talking about the Weedless model today and how I set it up and modify it, to fish a Ned rig weedless. This is going to be a really good technique for you coming up as the water temperature starts to get into the 50s, early spring, springtime, a little bit into the post spawn. So this technique that I'm going to show you today, guys, is going to be really good for you from about mid-March into about early to mid-May. So we're going to show you guys how to set it up in today's video here. Also, guys, real quick, if you hadn't heard of it, we do have my first live stream already set up, ready to go. We're going to have it February 12th, which is a week from today. This is a live stream I'm going to be doing every week. It's open to my channel members and my Patreon members. It's going to be a great opportunity to, you guys can comment on there, and I'll answer all your comments. We'll have a dialogue. We'll talk about a bunch of stuff, fishing tips, techniques, stuff we can't talk about on the main channels. So if you want to be part of my live stream moving forward, all you have to do is go to my YouTube homepage, become a channel member there. We've got a bunch of different options, or go into my description and become a Patreon member, either one of those. And hope to see you guys there at the live stream coming up there. Really appreciate that. Okay, guys, I'm going to show you how to rig this thing up. I'm going to go over in detail here. Now, a lot of people, have fished Ned rigs, and a lot of people have fished the hover rig before. But what we're going to talk about today is how to make a Ned rig weedless with the hover rig, and why the hover rig is better than a Ned head. So, first of all, here is the hover rig head right here, guys. It's super unique. A lot of you guys probably know what it is, but if you don't, made by Core Tackle. And also, guys, I'll link the hover rig head and all the stuff we're talking about. It'll be in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. So if you guys would like to get you a pack of the hover rigs, you can use my link that's in the description to get them. Good way to help the channel out there. But the hover rig is super unique because it has sort of taken the place of a jig head in a lot of different soft plastic situations, because the weight is distributed on the shank of the hook here. And what this does, instead of the weight being on the end here, it's on the shank. So when your soft plastic lure, it doesn't matter if it's a Ned rig or swim bait or whatever it is, it spirals down as it's falling like that. And then when you pick it up like that, it spirals down. And just a regular lead head, if you got like a ball head, it just drops like a rock. So the hover rig will generate strikes on the fall, unlike any other thing that you can throw. And it also does not telegraph itself. So I'm going to show you guys how to rig it up and what I do with here. So first of all, when you're talking about a Ned rig, there's a lot of, you can buy Ned rigs out of the package. Guys, don't waste, I'm going to give you a money saving tip here. Take your soft plastic stick base. This is the Zlinky that I use. Doesn't matter if it's a sink or whatever, and save them. Because guys, I don't know what it is. I catch more fish on my Ned rig setups by taking a used soft plastic stick bait and cutting it to the length that I want, versus just getting, package of the Ned rig, the regular Ned rig, baits on there. The good thing about using like a full-size stick bait is you can make it short, you can make it long, whatever you want to do. But in today's episode, I want to talk about my favorite way to fish it. So I'll take the 5-inch Zoom Zlinky, and you can see the egg sac right there, and I'm gonna cut it off right below the egg sac. This is about as large as I go with it. So you got about a 3-inch Ned rig set up there with it. Next thing I do with it, I don't have my scissors with me, but another thing you want to do, guys, is after you cut it off, like with a pair of scissors or something. I don't have my scissors here. My boys took them from me. But come through and take some of the edge off of the flat part of it. So you want to make it where the head comes to a little bit more of a point like that. Just makes it look a little bit better. You can do it really good with scissors. And then you want to take it and you want to bring the salt to the surface first by roughing it up. It's going to get the salt all the way through. It's going to make it softer. It's going to make it look a little bit better. And then the rigging part of it. Now, this is one of the things that you're going to have to practice a little bit with the hover rig because there is a little bit of a learning curve to rig it. It's not difficult. You just have to do it a couple times, because unlike a jig head, what you're going to do is you're going to come through about 1/2 of an inch below the head, like that. See, I've stuck the point of the hook 1/2 inch below the head. Now in a jig head, you're going to come straight through the top, but not the hover rig. You can see it comes right through like that. And then you're going to thread it through and make sure you're really careful that you go straight. You're going to bring it out like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to tuck the lead part back into the bait here. Go careful so you don't tear it, because a lot of these things have a lot of salt in them. Okay, now once you get it to this point, you're going to want to bury the point of this back in the soft plastic. So just bring it back a little bit and just put it right back in the middle of it, like that. So it's going to be looking like this a little bit. Okay, so you got it like that. Now, this is what I do is when I'll trim the head up a little bit more with the scissors, just to make it look a little bit, a little bit more uniform. Like that. So that's my setup. That's my weedless hover rig, Ned rig setup like that. And then another thing that I do with it is I'm gonna always put a little puff of chartreuse on the tail of it here. This makes a big difference, guys. I don't know if you tried it before. Just take a spike it, marking pen, and you want to put like maybe a little bit of puff of chartreuse, about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch up there. And it doesn't matter if the water's clear or off or dirty. You will get a lot more strikes having just a little bit of puff of chartreuse there. Now, the thing about this, why it's so effective, is number one, on the setup here, you don't have the head sticking out. So the head is a strike detractor. So you don't have the head on there. Everything's buried inside. Very fine weed guard here. And when you cast it out there like this, it's going to circle down like that, go to the bottom, and you're going to, pump it up like that, and it's going to just circle like that all the way down, which is super attractive to fish in a little bit more cleaner water. Okay, now let's talk about why you want to use the weedless hover rig. Now, most of the time, I don't want to use the weedless one because anytime that you've got a weed guard, it does, it does impede the hooking ability a little bit, not very much, but just a little bit. But sometimes you've got to use the weedless setup, because even if you use the straight one without the weedless in there, a lot of times, you're going to get hung up more than you're going to, not get hung up if you're fishing certain types of cover, and you're going to wind up, being less efficient. So the weed guard is really important for the technique I'm going to talk about here. So what I like to do with the weedless setup there is, now my number one thing in the early spring is to skip this thing underneath boat docks. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a piling dock, it doesn't matter if it's a floating dock or whatever. Bass love to be around boat docks in the springtime of the year. And there's not a better bait to catch a fish around a boat dock in the spring than a little Ned rig. It'll get you a lot of bites. You can even catch some good ones. I've seen bass up to 7 pounds caught out of my boat on a Ned rig, so it'll catch good ones. And just skip it up underneath there, under the walkways, in the dark areas. Let the little hover rig, Ned rig, go down like that. And, a lot of times the docks, you've got brush underneath them. And that's why you want the weedless head on there. Now, the other time that I use this, there's 2 other situations that I go weedless. If I'm fishing around any type of snaggy stuff. Now, one of the big keys on catching fish on this weedless Ned rig is to put it where a lot of people don't put it. So if I'm on a lake that's got a lot of fishing pressure, maybe the fishing's a little bit tough, one of my favorite things to do with it is I like to pitch it and flip it with a spinning rod in and around lay down trees and logs and stumps in the water. So what I do is I rig it up usually on 8 to 10 pound test Seaguar BizX fluorocarbon. Got my Megabass spinning rod. And if I come up to like a lay down tree, I'll take the weedless Ned rig setup with the hover rig on it, and I'll pitch it around the edge of the timber there. And there's usually some limbs under the water, so that's why you got to have the weedless part of it. And then I'll take it and I'll pitch it into the interior of the lay down tree. Now, a lot of people say, well, why do you want to do that, Randy? Why do you want to use a little light wire hook with light line, fishing lay down trees like that? Because my theory is you got to get the fish on before you can land it. And a lot of times in a post-frontal situation, tough fishing, if it's clear water, they're not going to hit a traditional bait like a jig or creature bait. They want something downsized. And this is one of the things I learned from Guido Hibden, because Guido was a master at this. He would take little worms and little bitty tiny finesse jigs on a spinning outfit, and he would pitch them and flip them around that heavy cover in and around it and catch fish nobody else would. So this is a perfect setup for it. And then finally, guys, around any type of submergent grass. If you've got a lake that has some hydrilla or milfoil that is growing up off the bottom, maybe that far, you can take this weedless Ned rig with the hover rig on it, and you can fish those grass beds with it without getting it hung up on a bear hook. Just pop it up out of that grass, let it spiral back down. So it's just really the main thing. It works in any type of a situation that a regular Ned rig would. That's going to get you hung up a little bit more, especially if you got a little bit cleaner water. Because for me, the whole key on the hover rig is a sight bait, in my opinion. I mean, I've caught some fish on it in water visibilities like 2.5 foot or something like that, but it excels in those clear water situations where the fish are really visually feeding. A lot of times bass will feed from vibration or water displacement, noise in the water, rattles or something. But other times they are sight feeders. And that's one of the things about a Ned rig that's so effective is that when this bait's on the bottom like that and the fish go down on it and they're looking at that bait, it looks so natural that they just suck it in. And then when you pop it like that with the hover rig head, it just spirals down and they just can't resist it, guys. You'll get twice the bites on a hover rig head as you will with a regular jig head on this. And most of the time, like I said, fishing on a spinning rod, and I do like to pop it a little bit because one of the things about fishing the hover rig is you've got to get it off the bottom to really take advantage of what a hover rig does, which is the spiraling effect. So if I'm fishing like a shaky head, I don't do that. A shaky head, I'm just going to be working it just like that. But when anytime I'm fishing a hover rig, I don't care if it's on the Ned rig or if it's on a little swim bait or whatever, I'm popping it like that. So I'm popping it where the bait will go like a foot off the bottom and down. So I'll work it like this, pop it a couple times, let it go back down, pop it a couple times, let it go back down. Sometimes I'll pull it like that, where it goes way up like that and goes back down. And it's irresistible, man. You get it around a fish and they can't resist it. But anyway, guys, give it a try. Just take your soft plastic stick bait, save them, cut them down to, whatever length you want. Get you a package of the Core Tackle Hover Rig Weedless models. I'll link them in the video description here. And another piece of advice, guys, I'll give you is try to go as light as you can. One of the things I found out about the hover rig head is I get more bites on it, with a lighter head because the slow spiraling effect, is really maximized with that slow fall. So anyway, guys, hope it helps you catch some good ones. We'll talk later.